In the cold glare of the courtroom, 11-year-old Mary Bell faced a life sentence without any comfort from her family. She whimpered that she had thought if she killed Brian, nobody would know because Brian didn't have a mammy, and she didn't have one either. And in this enigmatic life, we must ask, who is Mary Bell, and what led her to the brink of such heinous acts? Let's delve deeper into this mystery-filled case. Mary Bell was born into an unhappy family environment, devoid of parental love and affection. Her father, Billy Bell, had a history of incarceration and was seldom present at home. Instead, he often left Mary in the care of relatives. There were doubts surrounding whether Billy was her real dad, as her mother, Betty Bell, worked as a lady of the night. Betty's attitude towards Mary was notably callous. Immediately after Mary's birth, she expressed her desire to rid herself of the newborn. She told the doctor, "Take that thing away from me." Growing up, Mary experienced a lack of stability and nurturing from her parents. With her father frequently absent and her mother displaying indifference, Mary was left to navigate a challenging upbringing on her own. This absence of parental care likely contributed to Mary's troubled development and may have played a role in the disturbing events that unfolded later in her life. Following childbirth, Betty frequently left home in order to work in Glasgow. This brought joy to Mary, as when her mother was away, she could temporarily escape from the abuse, both mentally and physically, from the mother who bore her. Betty's sister once witnessed her selling Mary Bell to another woman for adoption, who then brought Mary back. Mary frequently encountered accidents, from falling out of windows to overdosing on sleeping pills due to excessive use. Many believe this was Betty's way of shirking parental responsibility for her unfortunate daughter. However, some believe it to be a manifestation of Munchausen syndrome, where the mother deliberately creates dangerous situations for her child to attract attention and sympathy from others. She also used to force Mary Bell to serve her male clients when she was just 4 years old. With all of these experiences, it's quite understandable that by the age of 10, Mary had become a peculiar child, unwilling to learn and displaying many violent behaviors. Norma Bell, a significant figure in Mary's life, has a profound influence on Mary's outlook on life. They both had the same surname, but they weren't related, although people described them as being like sisters because they were attached at school. Norma Bell is a close friend of Mary's, whose presence brings stability and emotional support during difficult times. Norma may have been the one to help Mary overcome challenges and hardships, offering her encouragement and belief in herself. The relationship between Norma Bell and Mary reflects unity and support within the community. Just weeks before committing her first murder, Mary exhibited incredibly bizarre behavior. On May 11, 1968, a 3-year-old boy was playing with Mary when he suddenly suffered severe injuries from a fall. At that time, the child's family believed it was an unforeseeable accident and harbored no suspicions whatsoever. At school, Mary was a naughty troublemaker, always lying and showing signs of mental illness from an early age. She often hurt and bullied her classmates. The moms of the other kids at school once told the cops after Mary choked one of their kids, but the cops didn't do anything. Until May 25, 1968, the day Mary strangled 3-year-old Martin Brown to death, just one day before she turned 11, it caused a massive shock and altered the perception of many people towards children and their innocence. This incident shattered the trust of many citizens, forcing them to confront the truth that not all children carry within them the purity and sanctity of soul they had always believed in. Mary Bell choked 4-year-old Martin Brown in the bedroom upstairs of a dilapidated abandoned house at 85 St. Margaret Street. Martin Brown was found lying on his back in the old bedroom, his hands stretched straight above his head, with blood and froth around his mouth. Despite no signs of violence on his body, his death was incredibly mysterious and terrifying. Local worker John Hall was the first to arrive at the scene and attempted CPR to save Martin Brown's life, but his efforts were unsuccessful. While he was trying to resuscitate Martin, Mary Bell and Norma Bell appeared but were chased away. Later, the two girls knocked on the door of Martin's aunt, Rita Finley, informing her that one of her sister's children had been in an accident. They suspected it might be Martin, but they couldn't be certain. Subsequently, when the police conducted the autopsy, they found no scratches on Martin's body, which only added to the mystery. The appearance of Mary Bell and Norma Bell at the scene only heightened the strangeness and mystery of the case, especially when later Mary Bell was identified as the perpetrator. This raised many questions and concerns about their behavior before and after the incident. The case caused shock and horror in the community, as the danger posed by the perpetrator at just 10 years old was almost unbelievable. It created a wave of horror and shock, with Mary Bell becoming one of the most terrifying young murderers in legal history. On May 26th, on Mary's 11th birthday, she and Norma pulled off a break-in and vandalism at a nearby nursery on Woodland Crescent. They approached the premises by removing tiles from the slate roof to gain entry. Not content with just damaging property, they caused further havoc. They tore books, overturned tables, smeared ink, and painted graffiti on the walls with messages related to the neighborhood. The next day, when nursery staff discovered the incident, they immediately notified the police. During the investigation, 4 different notes were found, claiming responsibility for the murder of Martin Brown. Each note carried a distinct message, but all were filled with threats and disgust. Initially, the police dismissed the seriousness of the matter, believing it to be merely childish antics. Meanwhile, the school promptly installed a bell alarm system to prevent similar incidents. This was a smart safety measure, but the following night, Mary and Norma still managed to roam outside the school. 2 days later, on May 29th, just before Martin Brown's funeral, both Mary and Norma visited Martin's mother, June, expressing a desire to see her son. At that time, Martin's mother gently explained that her son had passed away. Mary said that she already knew and wanted to see his body laying in his coffin. Her words left June in disbelief, coming from the mouth of a young girl. Mary incessantly boasts to her classmates that she was the one who killed Martin, but her arrogant attitude only leads people to believe that it's just a fabrication. Things take a more serious turn when another boy passes away. Mary Bell, the 10-year-old girl with blue eyes and black hair, asked if they were looking for Brian. Brian's older sister, Pat, was extremely worried about her little brother's disappearance, as he should have been home by now. Brian Howe, the 3-year-old boy with his tow hair, still unsteady on his feet, often played around the vicinity of their home. Mary, along with her close friend Norma, eagerly led Pat to search for her younger brother. They crossed the railway leading to an industrial area where the children of Scotswood Town often played among piles of scrap metal, old cars, and heaps of debris. Mary suggested that Brian might be playing behind or amidst the concrete blocks. However, Pat didn't think her brother would venture that far, so she headed back home. It's not hard to understand why Mary led her sister here to look for her brother. Because for the children in this area, these crumbling concrete lots are the ideal playgrounds. This area is often described as an urban district in Newcastle upon Tyne, North England. It is known for its industrial history, with a population primarily employed in shipbuilding and steel production industries. Scotswood is situated near the River Tyne, with factories and residential complexes intertwined. It used to be the heart of the region's industry, but later experienced decline due to reduced production and changes in economic activity. While there have been efforts to redevelop and revitalize the area, challenges remain regarding crime and poverty. At that time, Newcastle was undergoing large-scale redevelopment, with the worst slum areas being demolished to make way for new high-rise apartments. The demolished sites became playgrounds for children as the city changed day by day. That night, the police found Brian's body at 11:10 p.m. in the derelict land, the same place Mary had indicated to Pat earlier that evening. Brian's body was covered by overgrown weeds, looking eerily different. There were several stab wounds on his thigh, and his genitals were scratched. His hair was cut. The injuries appeared peculiar. On Brian's stomach, the letter M was carved by a razor blade. Another shocking detail is that the attack showed minimal use of force, indicating that the perpetrator could be a child. Typically, in attacks or homicides, perpetrators often use weapons or physical strength to carry out their actions. The analysis that emerged made the police certain that the perpetrator was a child, lacking the physical power of an adult. This complicates the investigation, as identifying the identity and motive behind this brutal act will require concentration and diligence from the police. This story truly is a nightmare for the community, leaving everyone living in fear and worry for the safety of their children. More than 100 detectives from across Northumberland have been assigned to the investigation, and more than 200 children have been questioned. When the police interrogated Mary Bell, they knew they had found the perpetrator of the murders. From Mary Bell's strange behavior, inconsistent statements, contradictions, and even her attitude and reactions during the query. Not only Mary Bell, but Norma's attitude during the interrogation also raised many suspicious and surprising details. Their excitement and odd behavior only added to the police's doubts. Norma displayed comfort and cheerfulness while Mary seemed evasive, especially when the police mentioned someone seeing her with Brian before he passed away. All of this contributed to strengthening the police's suspicions, These investigated details not only caused astonishment and shock within the community, but also served as evidence of the cruelty and peculiarity of the human mind, especially when such actions are carried out by children. On the day of Brian's burial, Mary was still seen lurking around the child's house. Mary even laughed and rubbed her hands together when she saw the coffin. They called her in for a second interrogation, and Mary seemed intuitively aware that something was amiss, so she fabricated a story about witnessing an 8-year-old boy assaulting Brian on the day he died. She claimed the boy had a broken pair of scissors with him. That was a major mistake on Mary Bell's part, because the details about the body being cut with a scissor were kept strictly confidential, known only to the investigators. This detail was not disclosed to the press and the public, so Mary Bell, knowing this, betrayed her, making it clear that she was the culprit behind Brian's death. In subsequent interrogations, Norma began to cooperate. On the afternoon of August 4th, Norma Bell's parents contacted the police, stating that their daughter wanted to confess what she knew about Brian Howe's death. DCI Dobson went to their house, where Norma recounted that Mary had taken her to the location where Brian's body was hidden. Mary also described how she had strangled the child. According to Norma, Mary told her that she enjoyed strangling children, then proceeded to describe how she inflicted scratches on the boy's abdomen with a razor blade, which was found at the crime scene and termed the broken scissor. Norma then led the police to the crime scene and disclosed the location of the hidden razor blade. The paper on which Norma drew the wounds on the boy's abdomen perfectly matched what the investigators described. Forensic examination of clothing belonging to both girls revealed gray fibers found on Brian's body that perfectly matched Mary's knitted dress. Hazel fibers on the child's shoes also matched Norma's dress. Moreover, similar gray fibers were also found on the body of Martin Brown. During Mary's time in custody, a prison guard approached her and asked about her aspirations for the future. The 11-year-old girl responded that she wanted to become a nurse, so she could use needles to injure patients. Mary said that she liked hurting other people. At her trial, the prosecutor believed that Mary's motive for the killings was to satisfy and enjoy the excitement of taking away someone else's life. Meanwhile, the British media dubbed Mary a born devil. In December 1968, Mary was convicted of manslaughter rather than murder, as the jury was persuaded by psychological experts who argued that Mary showed signs of a psychopathic personality disorder and was not fully in control of her actions.
2 psychiatrists told a shocked court that Mary was a dangerous killer, a psychopath who must be locked up or she would kill again. They had to base their opinion on observation alone, for no one from Mary's family came forward to help unravel her past.
Norma, on the other hand, was acquitted as being deemed an unwilling accomplice and adversely affected by Mary. The judge concluded that Mary was a dangerous individual and a threat to other children. Mary was given an indefinite sentence to be detained until authorities deemed the criminal met the standards for release. Whilst Mary was in Red Bank, her mother received a letter blaming her for ruining her life.
Please, ma'am, put my tiny mind at ease. Tell judge and jury on your knees. They will listen to your cry of please. The guilty one is you, not me. I'm sorry it has to be this way. We'll both cry and you will go away. Tell them you are guilty, please. So then, ma'am, I'll be free. Your daughter, May.
In 1980, after undergoing psychiatric treatment and rehabilitation, Mary was allowed to leave prison. In theory, Mary remained under sentence but was integrated into the community under strict supervision. Additionally, Mary was given a new identity as a chance for a fresh start and to avoid scrutiny from the media. However, Mary still had to move around frequently to evade the prying eyes of newspapers and the public, who somehow managed to discover her whereabouts. Things took a turn for the worse when Mary gave birth to her first daughter in 1984. The child remained unaware of her mother's past as a dangerous criminal until she turned 14, when a journalist from a newspaper approached Mary's husband seeking an audience with her. As a result, Mary's family once again had to quietly relocate. Now Mary is protected in a secret safe house. Both Mary and her daughter live in hiding and are under court-ordered protection. Many argue that Mary does not deserve such protection, including the mother of victim Martin Brown. However, to date, Mary continues to be protected by the British government, and court hearings requesting the protection of the identities of certain convicted criminals, unofficially referred to as the Mary Bell Law. Mary Bell's case remains a haunting reminder of the complexities of human nature and the capacity for darkness even within the innocence of childhood. Though the passage of time may blur the details, her story serves as a cautionary tale, prompting society to reflect on the vulnerability of youth and the importance of early intervention and support.